Hey everyone, Tina Hogan Grant here with my Cuppa A Natter that I like to do on a Monday, twice a month. I like to invite authors into my home and we talk about books, reading, writing, life as an author, and whatever comes to mind. And tonight, Caleb and Kelly is joining me. How are you this evening, sir?
I'm good. How are you, Tina? It's a little bit weird where I'm at right now because I live in Georgia and the college football national championship is going on right now, and Georgia is in it. I am not a Georgia fan, but the whole state is. I've told folks on my Facebook, if you make it here, I mean, thank you, because right now that is the whole
That's
buzz.
this is football.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
I
ma'am.
have never watched a football game. I've been in the States since 1979. I don't understand the game. I don't understand the rules. So I've never watched the game, but good luck to whoever team you're rooting for.
Neither one are my team, so I mean, I'm just in a place of actually people are like, "Are you really going live the night of national football?" It's like, look, it's football on one hand, or me being an author and meeting new readers and meeting new people on the other. I'll take that over football any day.
There you go. And the other thing that's good too is they can always watch the replay afterwards.
Right.
Even though we're live right now, we can post links and they can go live. I mean, they can watch the replay. What we're
Okay.
dealing with here in California is torrential rain. We have never seen so much rain in California. I've been pleading for rain. And all of a
Right.
sudden, we're getting just like storm after storm after storm. And it's like, be careful what you wish for. You know?
We actually had that a couple weeks ago. We thought we was all gonna just need to a boat just to get anywhere. It was horrible.
It's insane. I've never seen.
Yeah.
I mean, I live on a dirt road. I'm in a rural area, and the road is like a river. It
Right.
really is a river. So, anyways, we'll see how it is in the morning. But Caleb, I'm excited to talk to you about your
I am
books.
too.
So, before we get started, can you just give me a little background on, where you're from, about you, anything you feel okay with sharing to the rest of the world?
Right, right. So, like I said earlier, I'm from Georgia. That's where I reside. My Georgia's technically my home state. It's where I was born, but I was raised in South Carolina. So my heart is in South Carolina, I guess. I've actually been someone who wanted to pursue writing since I was 14. So I'm 30 now. So 16 years. This has been kind of my dream to be a writer. And back until about a decade or two ago, being an independent author wasn't really a viable option. You had to go traditional. So when I
Mhm.
learned about the possibilities of being independent, that's exactly the route I went. I love being able to conversate with my readers and really interact with them. There's a few of them here tonight. Karen, I saw you first, but I mean, I absolutely love this. I have three books out. They're Arthurian retellings with a little bit of dystopian twist that a lot of people don't see coming. The fourth one is coming out next year, and I'm actually going to introduce a pen name next year, writing fantasy romance.
Oh,
So that
wow.
yeah, that's a new endeavor that I'm really excited about. I have a lot of plans for that under the pen name Nikolai Stone. I wanted to choose something I thought sounded a little on the risque side because it will be spicier romance. But I'm really that endeavor is going to be. I'm really excited for it. But
Well,
I'm
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
go ahead. Just a little bit of my personal life. I am married. My wonderful wife. She's my behind the scenes. She does like I was just telling you a moment ago. She handles a lot of the technical stuff. I'm the beautiful face, though not as pretty as hers. And I have three heathen children, 6 years old, 4 years old, and one that's about 14 months. So that's
You got your
just a little
hands
bit.
full. You
Yeah,
got your
I
hands.
know. I know.
Wow. So when do you have time to write a book?
Honestly, I do it on my breaks at work. Anytime I don't really eat lunch most days because I am severe about my weight loss. I'm down like 185 pounds in the last 4
Congratulations.
years. So I intermittent
Wow.
fast. I type during my breaks. And when I get home, I type when I get home. So I try to really make time, especially with a new production schedule and things like that. I do my best to get in my word count, get in my editing count. I'm usually working on 3 books at a time to meet my self-proclaimed production needs.
I love the discipline. I mean, you sound
Thank
like a
you.
very disciplined person. You set goals, you stick to them,
Yes,
and it
ma'am.
seems like it's paying off. I mean, between your weight and your books and your writing, it seems like you're sticking to your goals, and you've got.
I mean, I'm currently pursuing my master's degree in creative writing as well. I've got my bachelor's. I just got it last year, so I'm doing my master's degree in that. I'm a semi-professional amateur bowler. I bowl tournaments throughout the year, and my weightlifting schedule. I lift weights 5 days a week. So ma'am.
And when do you sleep?
I try to get it in every night. I can't guarantee that. Melatonin and I have a very mutual relationship. So that's
wow. I'm impressed. That's fantastic. I mean, you talk about bowling. I used to love bowling. I mean, I haven't done it in many years, but I was on the bowling league.
Really?
Oh, I loved bowling, and my son did too. We actually did a mom and son team. So
no kidding.
Cool. And I do it once in a while with the grandkids, but I haven't done it like on a league in years.
Right.
I love it.
Well, see, if you look back here, that is my bowling bag that holds 4 bowling balls at a time.
Good Lord.
That's only a fraction of the ones I own. I also own another bag that holds 3 balls at a time. I got a few balls put up that's retired. My father, who kind of got me into bowling, probably owns anywhere from 20 to 24 bowling balls at any given time. So
crazy. All right, I'm going to pause just a little bit. We have a lot of people joining us, and I just want to say hello to a few of them and see who is here. And again, if you're just joining us, I'm with Caleb and Kelly, and we're going to be talking about his books. But if you have any questions for Caleb, go ahead and put them in the comments, and I will get to as many as I can. But I'm going to pop some of these up here. We have Karen joining us. She says, hey, all. And we have Lori Chasco. She says hello. And then I'm not sure who this is. Says, hi, ladies. Caleb, you're a lady tonight.
Up here. I mean, I do have long hair, but that's because I maintain a very Viking-like look. That's just who I am. I mean, I have my little ponytail too. So.
Perfect. Karen is here. She says, hello, Tina and Caleb. Courtney, I'm just going down the list real quick.
That one's mine. She's mine.
Is she yours? Okay, you can have her.
Yep.
Karen says, so glad to have you. Darlene says, hello. I'm just going to skim through. Alicia says, hello. Let me see. Barbara is here from, where's Barbara from? Come on, Barbara, there you are. Florida. And then we have another one here, but I'm not sure who it is. But that is how California drought, fires, and tons of rain and mudslides. Yep, that's exactly what it is. A couple of years ago, I was like, I don't know, less than a mile away from home, and we got a mudslide. I was in my car for 6 hours.
Oh my gosh!
Left my car there. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But like she said, that's California for you. All right, Caleb. I want to talk about your books. How many books have you written?
Yep.
How many have you written, Caleb?
I have 3 that are out right now. 2 of them. So to kind of put things into perspective, my production schedule changed. The first book, and as you can see right there, Camelot's Reckoning, it was published in 2020. 2021, I basically did nothing. I was writing, but I didn't really do anything as far as the series go. My production picked up and my mindset kind of changed. 2022, I published the second book and the third book about 4 months apart from each other. So that's kind of where life sort of changed for me, I suppose. But that I do have those 3 out. The 4th one will be next year, and 3 from the pen name is scheduled for next year. So
okay, and the one you held up, that is called Camelot's Reckoning?
Yes, ma'am. That is book 1.
Book 1, and you said there's two more out, so that's 3.
Ma'am.
Is it a trilogy, or is there going to be more?
It will be more. There's currently 6 books planned, but if you're an author, you know that plan never sticks.
No.
No.
I was planning on writing one romance book. I'm now on book 8 of the series, so I
Yep.
know exactly what you mean.
Yes, ma'am. And a lot of people don't get that. I
Yeah.
tell them all the time, I might write the characters, but they have a persona of their own. And a lot of times they do things I'm not planning. So,
Yeah.
um,
And do you know how the book's going to end
I
before you?
have a really good idea,
Mhm.
but I'm not going to guarantee that's how it will actually end.
I totally relate with you. The characters take over 100%. And when I say this is the last book,
Mhm.
twice it has not been the last book. I myself don't think I can write a standalone because my
Right.
trilogy and my series are supposed to be standalone, and that
Right.
didn't.
I don't think I could either. I
I
mean,
just
even the 3 books coming out next year for the pen name, the first book is more like a prequel standalone, but it's got 2 right after it that are all linked.
yeah,
And I mean, so no, I don't think I could either, honestly.
yeah. And then with the trilogy, the first one of that was written in 2018, and it's
Mhm.
been finished for almost a year now. But now I've just written the prequel and short story collection that goes with the trilogy, so it's still
Right.
going.
Yep.
So I love it, and I like you do. But you mentioned that you had the dream or desire to write at a young age, 16. What?
14. Yes, ma'am.
Wow. Now, what inspired that? Where did the love of writing come from?
Honestly, I think it sparked from video games. I was
Really?
an avid video gamer. My first book was actually written when I was 14. It was written on 300 pages of loose leaf notebook with a graphite pencil. I carried around that notebook with me all through middle school. If it ever was to see the light of day, Marvel would sue me for plagiarism and copyright because it was by far an X-Men ripoff without a doubt. And I
Really?
think, oh yeah, I mean it was horrid. I mean I used the same names and everything. It was bad. But so I think for me, I use that book as a way to journal. So like when things come into my life, I would use the main character as me and I would write stuff that happened to the main character. A lot of the side characters were just like my friends that I had. Different things would happen to them. When I started seeing a girl in middle school, I would write in a new character and that character would, and my character would start talking. And so that was just my way of expressing myself. And it just kind of carried on from there, I guess.
That's fantastic. Are there any other writers in your family?
No. I mean, my wife writes. She doesn't write to the same degree I do, but she does write. I'm not allowed to read anything she writes. She doesn't allow me to read her stuff, and which is fine because I am a critical person, I suppose. But she's like, no, this is just for me. This is for my eyes and my writing only. I'm like, you know what? If you need this as a way to as an outlet, fine. I'm okay with that. You know.
So
So,
we'll never
but
get to see it published, her work published.
you
No.
know what? I've tried to convince her one day to publish it because she is my formatter. She handles the front matter and the back matter of my books. She's also my alpha and my beta reader and my developmental editor. So when I tell you how much my wife does, trust me,
She does a lot.
I'm
She's in the
not.
background. She really is.
Yes, I
How
mean
about
she
writing the book
really
together?
is. Well, see, we thought about that too. And actually, one of the books planned for Nikolai Stone later
Hmm.
on down the line is one her and I started together. So she's told me before, she said, if you think I'm nitpicky about any that comes before that, you have no idea what this book is going to do to you.
Well, that'll be interesting to work together writing a book.
Yes, yes. And what's crazy is when I decided to pull out the romantic fantasy part, this book it kind of just spoke to me because it originally wasn't going to be romance fantasy. It was going to just be an epic. And then one of the characters had a gender change and become a female overnight, and it just kind of all fell into place. And she was
Okay.
like, "This is exactly what this book was supposed to be." And it's odd because going back and looking at the dialogue between the characters, yeah, if you make that character a female, it all falls right into place. So I have a feeling it was meant to be a female to begin with.
I love how when you're writing a book and it doesn't make sense, But when something like that happens and it all
It does.
together,
It fits together. It really.
It's perfect. And do you have a release date for the first one of those?
No, I do not. Now, the release date for the 3 coming out next year, the first one is planning for February 14th. I'm planning for Valentine's Day.
Oh, perfect.
If that schedule holds true, I'm not sure. I have a great beta reader. I'm going to call her a beta reader because that's what she says. Her name's Colleen. She's going through it now. And then behind her, my wife is going through it for the second time. I'm hoping for Valentine's Day, but right now it looks like it might have to be pushed back, but we'll see. We'll see how
that happens. At least it's coming. That's the good thing, you know. So, but we have a few questions for you, so I'm going to pop some of these up. Sure. Vicky wants to know, how do you celebrate when you finish a book?
Well, it used to be whiskey, but since my weight loss, I try not to drink too much anymore. Now when I celebrate a book, it's usually steak. I'm a big steak fan. Steak, shrimp, mashed potatoes is my go-to. So we did celebrate the birthday of Camelot's Reckoning. I bought it a cake and had the cover put on the cake and everything. I think it's on my TikTok. But I celebrate the birthdays of my books every year.
I love that. Going back to Camelot's Reckoning, can you just give us a little background on either just that book or the 3 books right now without giving too much away?
Right. So what inspired Camelot's Reckoning? I was sitting down watching the show Forged in Fire. If you've never seen it, it's about guys who basically go on this TV show and forge weapons, and they get judged by how they can forge. They did an episode on a Zweihander, which is the giant sword in the book. Actually, if you can see it behind me, it's that one right there.
Wow.
It hangs on my wall right behind me for inspirational purposes. But they were doing this episode with it, and they finished it, and I'm like, I can't think of this sword having any significance in history. And so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna change that. And I got to doing some research on Camelot and Arthurian lore and things like that. A lot of people don't know that Excalibur wasn't the only sword. There was actually 2 swords. And so I took that and twisted it into my own lore. And that's when the 2 swords were born. And that one's one of them.
Wow.
So it was interesting reading about Arthurian lore because a lot of people only think about the sword and the stone. A lot of people kind of look over the myth behind the Lady of the Lake and how Arthur got Excalibur through the Lady of the Lake. They believe that Arthur pulled the sword from the stone, and that is the general consensus. Right. But he actually, in 2 different stories, got it both ways. So in my lore, he did pull the sword from the stone, but that sword is also there. And I'm not going to go into any details because it might spoil the book for people. But
I'm from England, and even I didn't know some of this you're saying.
Really? That's actually kind of funny. There's a guy, because part of my book takes place in Scotland, and he was like, you told me facts about Scotland I didn't know, and I'm from Scotland. He's like, so I don't understand how you did that, given the fact that you're from South United States.
Exactly.
He said, how did you get Scotland into some of this stuff? You've never even been. I was like, you'll find out that authors are some of the greatest researchers in the world. Hands down.
You have to be. I mean, I look in the history of some of my stuff that I researched in my book. People can think I'm crazy, But hey, we got to do what you got to do, right?
That's right.
Okay, let's see that cover one more time. Asking questions.
Yes, of course.
Number 1 is I love the cover. It really pulls you in. Did you design the cover, or do you have
I gave an idea of what I wanted the cover to be, and that's my bookmark for my my reading later on. I gave an idea of what I wanted, and the guys on Fiverr who I used for this cover, that's book 2 right there. Gave them the idea of what I wanted, and they took the idea and ran with it. And here's book 3. I just got in paperbacks of those. That's the proof. And it's really hard to kind of see, but the swords stay on all the covers.
I see that.
But they took the idea I had and really ran with it. I was really happy with their work.
And how about the titles? Do you know the title before you start writing, or does it come to you while you write?
Honestly, it kind of comes later on. I have an idea about the title. Like the book 2 and book 3, the titles were easy just because the flow of the series. Book 4 was kind of we had a, and mind you, when I say we, I mean me and my wife, because she helps me plan everything. We had the idea for a title of the 4th book, and as we were going, again, the characters kind of decide their own thing, and the title changed spur of the moment. So
Yep, there you go. And then, because I want to put this up, but they're asking, are all your books in the same genre? What genre would you categorize these in?
Yeah, these 3 are all in the same genre. They're Arthurian retellings with dystopian. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a mouthful when you say dystopian Arthurian retelling, but that's what it is. Most Arthurian retellings take place back in time, I guess. These do not. These are present day to we'll say future, seeing as how it is dystopian. But yeah, they all fall into that same thing.
Is that a pretty new genre?
I don't think it's a very niche one to be, or it is a very niche one. I don't think too many people. I've been told that my books are much different than anything that most people have read when it comes to Arthurian legend. So I don't think so.
Is that genre on Amazon?
Arthurian legend, Arthurian retelling it's actually a I'm not going to call it popular because it doesn't fit in with a lot of the others, but there's a lot of really dedicated folks who love Arthurian retellings. So if those are the kind of the ones I'm gearing towards.
Perfect.
Because I didn't realize there was dedicated fans to Arthurian retellings, really.
And you're finding them, it seems like.
Hopefully.
You're finding them. Okay, here's another question for you from Barbara. Caleb, when you finish the book, do you ever find a secondary character from that book trying to interrupt you to get more of their story told?
The answer to that question is yes, and I wish it was that simple of an answer. It's really not. I mean, I promise you, when you start writing these characters, their voice stays screaming in your head all the time. I mean, we really write to shut them up, because that's the thing. I mean, so absolutely, I hear them all the time. They're constantly screaming for more. We want to do more. We want to be in more. The best way to shut them up permanently is to kill them. And I'm a firm believer in, I have no problem killing off characters.
That's a good one. I like that. There's another question up here I wanted to find for you real quick, but I'm going to put up some comments. Courtney says, it just occurred to me I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Caleb's wife. Hi, Courtney. I'm trying to answer any questions I can. Courtney.
Next year will be 10 years together.
Oh, congratulations. Well, it sounds like they have a fantastic marriage.
No, I'm sorry. This year will be 10 years. I keep forgetting we're in 2023.
I love the support that you show each other.
Yeah, she is 100% my biggest fan.
I love this. Someone was asking, hold on, here it is. Oh, that's Courtney. He says his character and sometimes they even make him cry. Oh, she's spilling all the beans now.
Okay, so like she's talking about one scene. It's actually in the 3rd book. I was writing it and had to get up and walk away because I could not see my computer screen anymore because of what had happened to one of the. I wasn't planning on this to happen to the character. It just happened out of nowhere, and it got me really emotional.
I love it. Okay, here's a question. I'm not sure who this is. Are you an outliner or a pantser?
I consider myself a hybrid of the two. I used to be a pantser without a doubt. Now I outline the first 10 chapters of my books and give room for anything to happen that the characters might decide that I don't plan. So I'm definitely a hybrid of the two.
Smart. That's very smart. When a character is trying to lead the way, do you ever try and rein them, pull them back in? And
it never works.
Never works.
Never works. Ever.
And you say, okay, with the books, you do most of your writing at work on break?
I do. I got so my job. I'm a customer service rep for a printing press. I got two 15-minute breaks and a 30-minute break, but sometimes we have some downtime, and I use that time to really get in depth. I think of the books that I've written. So I've got the two books that published this year. I've also got the three books for Nikolai Stone already written. And I'm currently working on the fourth book that's going to come in 2024. The fourth book of this series is about written. It lacks about 500 words. So I've done a great deal of this at work.
And what do you write on? What device do you use to write on?
Just my computer.
A laptop?
I have a desktop at work. I'm
okay.
I'm a hybrid, so a lot of time, like part of the week I'm on the floor, production floor. The other part of the week I'm in my desk answering emails and being a glorified yes man.
Well, the reason I asked is because some authors write an entire book on their phone.
Kudos to them, because I can't do it.
I have a hard enough time texting on my phone, and even when I text, it's not what I said because of auto. So
I'm a great texter, but I can't do that.
No, but some authors write their entire book on a phone, and I just can't imagine doing that. That's why I asked.
Me either.
Okay, we have a little treat because you are going to read an excerpt from one of your books.
Yeah.
I am excited, and I'm sure the readers are too. So, which book are you going to read from? Number one.
I'm going to read from Camelot's Reckoning, chapter 1, because I didn't want to. I don't want to spoil anything.
Okay.
So to preface this. One of the brothers, Oliver, is an archaeologist, and he's currently searching for Excalibur in Scotland. They didn't find the sword, but they did find something.
All right, it's all yours.
Their last names are Lockhart. Oliver and Roland Lockhart, they're twin brothers. So, all right. In this scene, for instance, Oliver is with, he's a professor, and he's with his students, Victoria and Jamie. And they're in Scotland trying to find something. Mr. Lockhart, the shrill, blood-curdling cry startled Oliver from his mental meandering and sent a shiver of fear down his spine. He dropped the small shovel and bolted towards the sound. What is it? What's going on? Oliver asked as he rounded the edge of the castle. His students huddled in a corner where the exterior walls met and were looking down at the gray stone. Mr. Lockhart, this is it, Janice pointed. This is what you've been looking for. What are you talking about, Janice? Oliver stepped up and followed her finger. A section of the hand-cut limestone brick lay on the ground, revealing a hole barely big enough for a dog to squeeze through. For a moment, his heart beat thunderously, but it sank just as fast. Excalibur can't be here. Something that important would be in a treasure chest or wrapped up in linen. Excalibur was believed to be a Romanesque riding sword. It was anywhere from 2.5 to 3 feet long. The space just isn't large enough. Mr. Lockhart, look. Janice took a Zippo lighter from her pocket and struck the flint. She tossed the casing into the hole. It skidded across the top of the bricks before falling behind the wall. It's some kind of hidden chamber. It must have been sealed up during the castle renovations. Why would it be sealed up instead of examined? Jeremy asked. To hide something. Oliver peered into the hole. He could see the flickering flame trying to illuminate the darkness. We can break down this wall and get inside, Victoria suggested. If the sword is here, I bet we will find it inside. Oliver removed his glasses and rubbed his face. We can't touch the structure of the castle. The Scottish government only gave us permission to excavate the grounds. Damaging the integrity of the building in any way is a serious offense punishable by fines and prison time. He stared at the hole in the castle wall, grinding his teeth and pursing his lips. No, put the stones back. In time, I can query the Scottish government for permission to explore the chamber further. We must leave it alone for now. If we leave now and tell the Scottish government, they may wish to explore our findings themselves. You've come too far to let someone take this from you. We can't give up, Mr. Lockhart. Jeremy grabbed his arm. Can you really walk away knowing it's so close? Oliver could almost feel the tears welling up in his eyes. He thought about his student's words and how much he would be giving up with the sword possibly so close. If he left, he would wonder forever if it had been right there, separated by a few inches of stone. I have to, Jeremy. Oliver pulled away and turned his back on his students. We can't mar such a landmark. There's too many factors involved. We can return later, but it will take time to get all the permissions and secure funds. But we'll be back. Go, Mr. Lockhart. Victoria's smooth hand rested on his forearm was a familiar touch. The smile that spread across her face beneath the fine fibers of her disheveled, ink-colored hair was one he had seen before in more private places. After a couple months in Scotland, they had found the cure to loneliness one night after a glass of brandy in Oliver's hotel room. His eyes floated to the small T-Rex skull tattoo on the underside of her other wrist. He was with her when she got it, a reminder of him, no matter how far they were apart. Since then, he had placed his lips on that tattoo each night before they drifted off to sleep in each other's arms. He considered it a symbol of their secret intimacy. We'll bring you what we find. We can remove each brick and then place it back. No one will even know we did it. I can't allow you to do that. I'm responsible for everything here. No matter what happens, we will have to answer for it. If anyone says anything, then I will publicly take the blame. Jeremy spoke up. Something tells me when we find whatever is here, then there will be no blame put on anyone. Come back in the morning, Mr. L. You won't be disappointed. Oliver hesitated as he pondered his next actions. Should he let the students shoulder the burden? What kind of repercussions might await us? Can we risk letting the Scottish government know about our find? What if someone finds whatever might be there before we can return? They were also determined, so dedicated to helping them that his heart swelled with emotion, not only for them, but for fulfilling his dream. A sudden smile spread across his face. I hope you all take me as a person as well as a teacher. We might be spending a few nights in jail together.
I like that. Thank you so much. You have a good voice. You have a good voice for reading.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You do. Your books, do you think they'll ever be in audio?
Possibly. I mean, as an indie author, you know that audio is one of those things that's more like a dream than anything else.
Well, it's fine for the narrator, but a lot of readers said they would love to have an audio book by the author reading the book. You have a great
Lord,
voice.
I don't know if I could do that.
I could not because it takes a lot of patience to sit there and you make a mistake or your tone is off. You have to read through the whole thing. I don't have the patience. I do want to put up some comments from your reading. I really enjoyed that. Thank you so much. But here's some comments. We have Janet, intriguing story. Lori, you read very well. See? I like putting these up after it's read. Hold on, we got more. Virgie says, awesome reading.
Thank you.
Karen, thank you. Love listening to you read.
Thank you.
Alicia, thank you so much for reading to us. It sounds great. Darlene, it sounds so good. And I'm sorry, love it. She's in my group. My group's private, so the names do not come up.
That's okay.
Here we go from Karen. Great reading. Love the way you read it. You made it very interesting. See, I'm telling you, you've got a great voice.
It has been a thought, but with as many coals as I have in the fire, I don't know if I can do that.
You have to have all the right equipment, the soundproof room, the microphone that cuts out all the sound. For me, I know, number one, I would not have the patience. I would not.
Oh, I know.
I love to write, but for me to sit in the booth or, with a microphone for hours on end, I couldn't do it. Lisa says, thank you for the reading.
You're very welcome.
Yeah. Courtney, your wife. I keep telling Courtney, see? I started something. Okay. Karen did mention, but I can't find the comment now. She loved the names of your characters. So I wanted to ask you, how do you come up with the names?
So Oliver and Roland, they honestly sprung out of nowhere. There's no real story behind them. The interesting part of my books that's the story I like to tell. There's a character later on named Garrison. He is a Merlinian apprentice from back, centuries ago. That name is only important because that's also the name of my youngest son. Before he was born, like I said, he's only about 14 months old. I really loved the name Garrison. And so I was determined to use it one way or another. So it became a character in the book. Well, a little while later, we found out we were pregnant. So I decided to use that for my son as well. So all of my children, my oldest son's name is D'Artagnan, like D'Artagnan from the Three Musketeers.
Wow.
His middle name is actually Alexander, from the author is Alexander Dumas. My middle child is Honora Grace. She will eventually have her name in a book as well. And then Garrison already has his name as a book. So all of my children, their names will be in a book either already or eventually.
Unusual names. You guys put some thought into the names for your children. They're beautiful names. They really are beautiful names. How old are your children again?
D'Artagnan is 6, Honora is 4, and Garrison is 14 months.
Okay, so they're too young to read your books.
Right. Very, yes.
Maybe down the road.
Now they know what I do, D'Artagnan especially, because he tells me all the time, Daddy, I'm going to grow up to be a writer just like you. Oh. He loves dragons. He loves swords. I mean, he has picked up on a lot. Honora, I listen to metal music, rock music, because to me it's very motivating. She's my air drummer, so she sits in the back of the car doing this all the time. So
back to your writing. You write at work. Is there noise around you when I have to have complete silence when I write?
I'm a little bit on both sides of that spectrum. When I'm editing, I have to have silence. I can't edit with anything going on. When I'm writing, I can have my playlist on, listen to my head banging music, no problem whatsoever. It gets me in the mood because there's a lot of action in my books. But editing, I have to really focus on making sure the words flow correctly and making sure everything's there like it needs to be. So editing, silence, writing, it can be any kind of noise as long as it's not my children.
There you go. And you write every day. Do you set writing goals every day?
I do.
You do? Good.
Yes,
what
ma'am.
goals do you set for yourself?
So my goal is 1,000 words a day as long as I'm not editing anything. If I'm editing anything, I give myself a little leeway and shoot for about 500. Like today, I've edited 2 chapters. I actually haven't done any word count today because I had to take care of some family errands. But my goal every day is at least a chapter. I'm trying to do 2 right now since the book's coming out in about a month. And 1,000 words a day, and I try to do that all encompassing. I try to do that every single day.
That's
like I once was told by a very famous independent author that I just didn't have time to write, and he said, "Well, if you don't have time, you don't want to be a writer." He said, "If anything you want to do, you're gonna make time for it." And since then, that's always stuck with me. That's always been in the back of my head that if I want to do it, I'm going to make time to do it. And so that's what I do.
Fantastic advice. And that's my goal, is 1,000 words a day.
Yep.
That's what I go by. And it could be 200 in the morning before I go to work, another 300 at lunchtime. But my day's not over until I've written 1,000 words.
That's right. That's exactly the way I am.
Yeah. If I sit up till 2 o'clock, I'm up till 2. If I want to go to bed early, I better write those words.
And that level of willpower is exactly what kind of separates you from other writers. You've got to. Someone once told me the key to writing a book is to put your butt in the chair. To get it done. Whatever it takes to get your goals done. Yeah, so exactly. I just discovered sprinting about summer of last year. I wasn't doing sprints. I was sitting down doing everything in one piece. So then I started 15-minute sprints and could find out I could do about 500 words in 15 minutes with no distractions. So that's kind of what I do now. It's easy to do when you have 15-minute breaks and then a 30-minute lunch. So
yeah, because of you being at work and you can do it. I've never tried sprinting. I've heard of it, but the fact that you're at work, they probably work great for you. Because you're in a time frame. You're in a set time frame. So you have 15 minutes to do the sprint. That's perfect.
That's right.
I have heard about that. I've heard a lot of authors say it works really good. Maybe I'll give it a go.
It's a totally different level of production that I found.
Yeah, it is. Do you edit while you write?
No. That's a hard no, because if I spend any time editing while I'm writing, no writing will ever get done.
Yeah, I mean, I've tried it one time way back, like book number 3 or something. and the amount of changes I wanted to make was just
Yes.
insane. So it's like I don't
Yes.
read. The only thing I do is when I go back from the day before, I'll read the last chapter just to get me
Right.
back into the story, and then I'll
Right.
continue on. But even if I find errors while I'm reading that chapter, I just ignore them. I'm not in the editing
I do
mode.
the exact same thing.
Yeah, because if I just change the dot on an I or whatever, or dot on I started a bad path. So
You become obsessed
yeah,
with
yeah,
it.
exactly. Kathy has a question for you. She'd like to know how long does the research take for each book?
Uh, for the whole book, in my experience, it could be throughout the whole book, however long it takes you to write the book, because something may come up that you didn't plan for, and you're like, okay, well, this isn't exactly what I wanted to do. So, for instance, I've written the entire first book of the romance fantasies coming out, the one that's supposed to be coming out on Valentine's Day. I had already written it, had it already edited twice, and then my beta reader has already gone through half of it. And I used the term powder keg. This term, the book takes place in a more Viking era. The term powder keg is not very popular to that era. So I had to go back and change that. I had to research when powder was used. And while it kind of fits later on towards the 1200s, and this book takes place more than 900s to the 1100s. So I had to go back. I mean, your research could come at any time. It could. There's no set amount. That's part of being a hybrid pantser plotter. Is that if something comes up that I need to look up, it could be at any portion of the book.
That's one of the reasons why I will not write historical fiction. I love reading historical fiction, but I could never write it. I wouldn't say never, but I
No,
won't. Let's change that to won't, because the research scares me.
that's right.
Yeah, the research
I
scares me.
wholeheartedly understand.
I want to go back to the sprint writing,
Mm-hmm.
um, because Lisa, she says, I've never heard of sprinting, and maybe a few others. Can you just give a rundown of how it works? Because you've done it. I have not. I've heard of it.
Right.
Just give a
So
rundown of how it works.
so basically, it's just set a timer. For me, 15 minutes works great. You 15 minutes. You just type nonstop. You don't go back and edit any. You don't look at or really evaluate what you've written. You just write the words. And you leave it there. This is why I don't edit while I'm typing too. You just let it sit. Then you take you a 5-10 minute break. Let your brain rest a minute. Come back. Set your timer again for 15 minutes. Do it again. Do this for any number of sprints you want to, because in the grand scheme of your day, if you can fit even 300 words into 15-minute sprints, 15 minutes over the course of the day is nothing. But you've literally taken an hour if you do 4 sprints at 15 minutes, and you've hit your word count. What I found was the more I was able to sprint, the more I did this practice, the more words I could fit in while doing the sprint. So I started out probably 250 words when I first started sprinting. Now I can just about do 500 words during my sprints.
That's great. And how long did it take you to get to 500 from 250?
I'd say probably a few months, 3 or 4 months
That's not bad
to
at all.
really, because once you kind of get into that groove, that it just starts flowing a little bit better. So, and again, this is why I don't advise the editing while you're writing. It's going to be a mess, especially if it's your first draft. Understand, anyone who writes, understand your first draft is utter garbage.
That's why it's
Your
called
job, that's right. Your job after that is just to polish the garbage. That's it.
You just want to get the bones of the story out there
That's right.
on paper, and then you fill it in. You fill in all the blanks.
My favorite analogy is that your writing is just like the human body. You put the skeleton in first, then you go back and add a little bit of the muscle, then you want to add the skin and the nerves, then you want to make it really pretty at the end. So that's kind of.
When you back to the sprint again, do you ever find yourself looking at the timer or getting distracted by the timer?
No. I actually set my timer, turn my phone, I lock the screen, set it to the side. The timer will go off when it's ready to go off.
Okay, good. I was just curious if that would be a distraction, but
No.
you're a very disciplined person. I can see that. Everything that you want to do, you set goals and you discipline yourself, and I think that's fantastic. When you're not writing, working, what kind of downtime do you? What do you do during?
Does anybody have Webster's to look up the definition of that?
Or or fun time with the family?
Okay. So part of my downtime is bowling. We talked about that. I actually started laser engraving. My wife has taken it upon herself to learn that. She's a stay-at-home mom. So we've actually, part of my giveaway I'm going to do tonight is my own custom bookmarks.
And the wooden are made by you.
Yep. Yes, ma'am. We designed them, and these are the official bookmarks for the series. So as you can see the sign behind me, if I can get it off the sword, and I don't think I can, but it actually says, "Here there be dragons." We actually did that engraving as well. We've got a few other. This is my knight that we did for it as well. We got a few other pieces that we've done. So
you have the laser machine, because I do wood burning. I haven't done it in a while, but I love wood burning.
Yeah, I'm not talented enough for wood burning.
I'm not either. I'm not an expert, but I do have fun with it. I do.
My younger brother does a good bit of wood burning. I've got a few pieces that he did for me. He actually has a dragon eye in my bathroom, but I run the laser, or my wife runs the laser. I just picked the image and handled like the wood aspect of it. She does the image and that kind of thing. But so my downtime is engraving, bowling. I love cooking. Since I've lost so much weight, I've had to figure out how to make my food taste better. So, learning the recipes and stuff like that is really enjoyable. Outside of that, I do a little bit of video gaming with my younger brother. We have a game that we try to play every night. I try to make that's my downtime is I try to make an hour every night to play video games with him. Outside of that, that's pretty much all I do, really.
Okay. You say you like to cook?
I do.
That's
actually.
Awesome.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Recipe? Do you have a favorite recipe?
Well, tonight I actually had chicken Alfredo with shrimp, and it was incredible. I watched my calories pretty religiously. It really got me full. I'm a big fan of steak, as I said before. Chicken fajitas is one of my favorite too. That's pretty much my top ones. Steak is by far my favorite. Garlic with a little bit of butter and salt and pepper, and I'm straight. That plus the mashed potatoes, I'm okay.
Oh wow, you eat well at your house.
Yeah. Well, I mean, people say that. I just learned about zucchini thanks to one of my readers. She got me on air fried zucchini and mozzarella, which was fantastic. But I eat well but healthy because when you've lost as much weight as I have, and I still have more weight to lose. I want to get to 200 pounds, and I've got about 25 pounds left to get there. So I eat well, but I eat very healthy. A lot of people could say they couldn't survive off of how little I eat. So,
plus you do sports and you work out and everything too. Right. Also, right? Sounds like you're on track. It really does. Okay. Another downtime. Do you read a lot?
Unfortunately, I don't. I need to make more time to read. I wished me and my wife's about to start an audiobook not too long from now. But I wished I read more, but I just between my books, typing and editing, what little bit of time I had to breathe, I don't read as much as I'd like to.
I'm the same way. Yeah, I am. If you had more time to read, what authors inspire you to pick up that book?
So my favorite authors of all time is Alexander Dumas, who wrote The Three Musketeers. The Count of Monte Cristo is my favorite book of all time. I advise every person in the world to read Count of Monte Cristo. If you read nothing else, read that book. You won't regret it. If you can read the unabridged version, that's over 1,000 pages. I tried to read it once a year, but it's a lot to read, and it's not caught up with the times, so I didn't want my voice affected. I'm a big fan of Christopher Paolini, who wrote the Inheritance Saga, which is, of course, about dragons. But I'd like to find more independent authors and really try to support them. I've got a few set over to the side on my bookshelf that I'd like to start when I'm able to. But they're there for that purpose. The last book I read was it was traditionally published, but it was about a necromancer. Given the fact that my romance books start off with a necromancer, it was research purposes and really entertaining too. So that was my last really good read.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, I'm going to take a few more questions. We're going to wrap it up soon. This has been a fantastic chat, and I have one final question for you, but I want to just go to the comments. I see a couple of questions I want to put up for you. Karen is asking, are you a morning person or a night owl?
A little bit of both. I do my workouts at 5 a.m. That way they're done and out of the way. That way I can focus on everything else throughout the day. I'm usually in bed by 10 o'clock. But again, the melatonin's got to kick in before I can actually make the voices quiet. So a little bit of both, I suppose.
A little bit of both. And then we have this question. In your opinion, what is the worst part of getting a book published?
The publishing part is not at all the worst part. The worst part is what comes afterwards. I've told people this as many times as I can count. Writing a book is not the hard part. Planning the book is not the hard part. The hard part is the marketing and the networking that comes with it. That takes a lot of patience, and you have to really not get aggravated with how difficult it can be. So that
you're 100% correct. You know, we've got this book, we wrote it, we put it out there, and it's like, okay, why is no one buying it? Oh,
that's right. That's exactly right. You've got to get it into the best quote I ever heard is not to have your book in somebody's to be read pile, but convince them to put it at the top of their pile. So
there you go. There you go. Okay, another question for you. What happens if you get stuck and can't think of where to go while sprinting?
Keep going.
Keep going.
Just keep going. I mean, you don't have to really get down. I mean, again, your rough draft. So this is the bones. You can fix that in the edits, but just keep going. I mean, even if you're just sitting there writing nonsense, it's still word count that it still lays the foundation for what you can look at when you're editing. So always just keep going. Even if what you're writing is worse than the garbage that comes with a first draft, it's still progress.
There you go. Okay, one more question. Do you do all of your editing, or do you have an outside editor?
So I do 10 rounds of editing. I do my rough draft, and then I do my first round of editing. Then I'll do a second round of editing. I'll send it off to betas. I'll edit when the betas get back to me. Then I will print the book, and I'll edit the printed version. Actually, you might be able to see from this one. Yeah, if you can see from this one, there's all kind of pen edits throughout the book, because when I see a book in my hand, I see it differently than I see it on the screen. So from a book that is done on my computer, I typically end up adding about 20,000 words to it by the time I'm done.
Wow.
So that I 10 rounds of edits, because I also look for my crutch words and things like that. My outside editor is my wife and any really notable beta readers that I have. I have spent money on an outside editor before. If I can afford it, I'll go that route later on. But right now, I'm just a struggling person trying to produce a decent story. So I try to do it all myself.
Sounds like you're doing really good. Now, your books, they are available on Amazon. Are they on Kindle Unlimited?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and the paperbacks, then I'm assuming you go through Ingram too?
Yeah. I prefer if you message me, because I sign all of my books myself. I actually sign my books with a feathered quill pen. It was a dream of mine when I first started, and I made a promise that anytime I signed a book, I would sign with a feathered quill pen. I've got inkwells and everything.
I love that.
Thank you.
What a personal touch that is. That makes all the difference. That really does. Okay, my final question of the night. Caleb, by the way, this has been a fantastic interview.
I've really enjoyed it. I love doing some of this.
Yeah. But what advice would you give to an aspiring writer or author that wants to publish their first book? And I know Lori Chasko asked that question, but I can't find it, Lori. So I'm going to give that as a final question.
So the best advice I can give is honestly to tackle the hard part early. Get on TikTok, start marketing whatever book that you're going to do. Do it early, garner interest early. Something I wish I would have done beforehand was got on like Wattpad or something like that, one of those websites where you can write for free. Gain you an audience there, and then when you're ready to transfer over to something that you're going to publish, most of them will come with you. So I would advise, if you're going to write a book, do your best to market and build your audience while you're doing the rough draft. Give little excerpts of your book as you go. TikTok right now is exploding for authors, so start there and just build your way up. That's the best advice I can give for anyone who's writing. Like I said, writing is the easy part. It's the marketing and the networking afterward that will really make you pull your hair out. You can't see, but I have a little bald spot from where I do it. So
excellent advice. Get that base ready and out there before you actually release your first book.
Yes, ma'am.
Great advice. And Caleb, you're going to be doing a giveaway.
Yes, absolutely. So actually I want to do 2 giveaways. So the first one is all 3 books that I have out right now, all 3 ebooks. And again, it's open to anyone who's on the live. The other one, I want to do a giveaway, a signed copy of Camelot's Reckoning.
Signed with a quill, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Signed with a quill. With that, you'll get your choice of the official wooden bookmarks for the series. So the first one there is a quote from the book. Malice of the heart is not permitted, with Excalibur right there at the bottom. Mm-hmm. And then the other one, if you can see it, is that particular dragon I can't tell you much about, but it plays a part in the books as well. And they're actually talking about the dragon in that quote right there. So, but both of these they're also available for purchase. Again, I don't have an Etsy store up or anything like that, so I'd have to be messaged personally for any of my paperbacks to be messaged me personally. I'm on TikTok, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. You can reach me at any of those, and I'm as you can see, I'm a very cordial, talkative person. I'll talk to anybody about anything until I'm out of breath. So,
and what's your user's name on most of the platforms? Is it Caleb?
So, yeah, Facebook is Caleb N. Kelly. TikTok is actually the Iron Scribe. That's actually what kind of my handle is, if I can find it there. Wow, that's the book that doesn't have that in it.
Maybe your wife Courtney can put the links in the comments.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, that's my kind of ensign, is the quill pen and an anvil, because I was a blacksmith once upon a time. So that kind of inspired everything. But my group is Iron Scribe Publishing or Iron Scribe Legion. That's where I talk to my readers one-on-one. So you can find me there. TikTok is the same way. I'm actually Caleb and Kelly on TikTok. You can follow the books there, anything I publish, which is Iron Scribe Publishing. And Nikolai Stone has a TikTok as well. So
perfect. When your fantasy romance come out, let us know and we'll get you back on with your fantasy.
Absolutely. I'm so excited for those, because my wife has told me, she's like, you're a diehard romantic. Why you didn't do any romance in your books? Someone who actually read the first book, there is a touch of romance in the first book, and she messaged me after she read it. She said, why are you not a romance author? Because just reading this right here, I could feel the romance author vibes. And my wife has been telling me for years. I give credit to TikTok for coming out as a romance author, but she has told me for years that with your romantic side, this is where you belong. You belong in the world of romance. So I took up the mantle and decided to do it.
We need more male romance writers, so I'm looking forward to it.
It's really few and far in between, honestly.
It really is. It is. Caleb, this has been a lot of fun.
Yes, ma'am. I loved it. It's been a lot of fun.
And you've asked me if I pick the winners for you, which I'll be happy to do.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'll announce it probably around 8 o'clock in a couple of hours, and I will tag you. I can't on my author page, but I can tag you in my group. But I'll announce it in both places, and I'll have them reach out to you.
That sounds fantastic.
So readers, thank you everyone for joining us.
Thank you guys. I loved it.
All right. Thank you guys for joining us, and we will talk soon. Thank you, Caleb, again.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Tina.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.